Hi, it's Hinda and welcome to Cooking Fantasies. Today I'm back with a new delicious recipe. We're going to be making these nice, delicious, traditional Greek biscuits that are called Kourabiedes. They're kind of short crust pastry biscuits covered in powdered sugar and they're made with nuts. They're very crunchy and yummy. I know Christmas is over, but there are many Christmases to come. So make sure to like this video, subscribe to my channel, and let's get started. And like always, I will be leaving you down in the description box all the ingredients you're gonna need with both the grams and cups measurements, as well as any possible alternatives. So for this recipe, we're gonna use both butter and margarine. That should be both in room temperature. I know margarine doesn't harden in the fridge, but if it's cold, it's gonna affect the butter and the butter will harden, and this will definitely affect the end result. So remember to take them both out of the fridge at least 2 hours before starting to bake. Then use a stand mixer or a hand mixer and beat the butter and the margarine together for at least 15 minutes until they become pale and you have a kind of creamy, fluffy texture. It is somehow as you would be making butter frosting, but without adding the powdered sugar. And of course, don't forget to scrape the sides from time to time to make sure that all the butter and margarine are well incorporated and homogenic. And after long beating, this is how your end result should look like. It's very light and creamy. It somehow looks like a frosting. So I just transferred my butter and margarine into a bigger container that would take in all the other ingredients. So start by sifting the powdered sugar onto the butter. Add the zest of 1 orange, a pinch of salt, the vanilla sugar or vanilla extract. Now add the orange juice to the baking soda, give it a quick stir and add it to the mixture while it's still bubbly, and then add the chopped walnuts. So Kourabiedes are traditionally made with walnuts or almonds, but you can of course use either a mixture of both of them. You can go only almonds, or actually you can use any other kind of nuts that you prefer. So as you can see, first I use a wooden spoon to give everything together, gently a quick stir. The point is to mix all the ingredients into the butter without over mixing in order not to lose all the air we have incorporated into the butter. So add the baking powder to the sifted flour. Please don't skip this, the flour should be sifted, and then we're gonna add it to the rest of the ingredients in 2 goes. So I'm gonna first add the first half to the rest of the ingredients, and using the hands, or actually just the fingers, gently try to incorporate the flour. And then add the second half and do the same. You shouldn't be kneading, you shouldn't be over mixing. This is very important. Otherwise, we will not get the texture. You're just gonna have to use your fingers and to gently work all the flour into the butter. Just make sure that there are no lumps of butter and wet ingredients left, and also no lumps of flour left. And as soon as almost all the flour is incorporated, it's already ready, because as we said before, this is a kind of short crust pastry kind of biscuits, so you shouldn't overwork the dough. So again, as soon as you don't have any flour left, you're gonna stop working it and then give it quick gentle taps or squeezes in order to put it together without kneading. Then cover it directly to touch with plastic wrap and allow it to rest in room temperature for at least half an hour before we proceed. Kourabiedes are traditionally made in the shape of small little balls covered in powdered sugar. Some people also use cookie cutters to make them in different shapes like stars or half moons to recall the Christmas themes, and that's what I will be doing today. Now the half an hour is over, we're gonna start cutting our cookies, small batches at a time. And as you can see in the video, while I'm flattening it using my palm, I'm also using my fingers to push the sides that it stays together. And while doing this, I'm also using my pinky finger to decide the height of the dough, because that's about how thick it should be. And of course, you can use whatever cookie cutters you prefer or you have in hand to cut your cookies and place them in a baking tray on baking paper. And then repeat the very same thing until you finish all the dough. Just make sure that the rest of the dough is covered in plastic wrap, that it doesn't dry out while you are cutting your cookies. Preheat your oven to 175 degrees Celsius, that's 347 degrees Fahrenheit, and bake the biscuits for about 30 minutes until they start turning slightly golden brown. And this is how they should be, nice brown from both sides. And then allow them to cool for about 10 minutes for the next step. And here I want to show you how you can use whatever glass you have in the kitchen to cut a kind of half moon shapes if you don't have any cookie cutters in hand. And once our Kourabiedes have cooled a little and they are not hot but a little bit warm, we're gonna start sifting the powdered sugar directly into them generously. If you add the powdered sugar to the Kourabiedes while they're still hot, it's gonna melt and it turns into a kind of paste instead of dust. And I'm also gonna dust my presentation dish with some powdered sugar before placing in my cookies. Make sure to use an airtight container to store your cookies, and I can guarantee you that they will stay crunchy and yummy for up to a month without any problem. As this is a family recipe, it makes up quite a batch, but go ahead and use just the half of the recipe if you need a smaller batch. I thank you very much for watching and I hope you enjoyed the video. If so, please give it a thumbs up. If you still have any questions regarding the recipe, don't hesitate to ask me down below in the comment section and I will get back to you. Also, please subscribe to my channel if you haven't done it yet, and see you soon with a new baking video. Happy baking!